Welcome back. Well, regular viewers will know the federal member for Chifley, Mr Ed Husic, the ALP Polly, who's in the midst of an inquiry into why Australians pay so much for computer software than their overseas, much more than their overseas counterpart. He's here to update us on that and other matters vital to the government and the nation. Welcome back to the show.
Great to be here as always.
Now, before we get to the latest on the inquiry, given that computer software is something you've pushed on, and it's obviously something you think's in a business interest because bringing down prices is obviously going to be good for the economy. We had a survey today that just backed that up, didn't it?
Yeah, the Census e-business report looked at what's likely to happen with SME spends on hardware and software, and they're estimating that SMEs this year will spend about just a shade under $12,000, which is about $2,000 more than last year. So they make a big investment in IT software and hardware, and obviously prices are a big deal for them.
Well, that's a 20% increase.
Yeah.
Now, is the increase because they're spending more or because the prices are so expensive they have to spend more to keep up with where they're going?
Well, I mean, that's one of my big concerns has been through the course of chasing this issue up, is the amount. Like, if you look at it, and Choice have put in a cracker of a submission to the inquiry, estimating between probably just under 60%, they reckon, prices are inflated here in Australia. And they looked at like over 200 different products, and basically cross-checked all the prices. So if it's about 60% difference, that's not a small amount of money when you're looking at a spend by SMEs of about $12,000. So that is and if you look at the number of small businesses in Australia and the number of medium-sized businesses, and if you were able to get prices going down, that's better than a tax cut any day.
Well, I should say, while we're all for small businesses, of course, big businesses pay more too, and that adds to your bottom line. So tell us, you had your first public meeting last week. How did that go, and where do we go from here? I mean, it is a slow process. You've won a victory, but we're a long way off getting those prices coming down, aren't we?
Yeah, well, and it is just, I accept it's going to take a while, and it's going to take even longer if a lot of these big names don't participate in the process. I was going to get to that. You had the public meeting, and you've had good response. But are the big companies coming to the party? So they're not, and it's something that I'm just not impressed about one bit. I don't think.
What are you going to do?
One of the things, it's been good enough for them to be able to rake out a lot of cash out of the Australian market. Then it's good enough for them to answer simple questions about their pricing approach. And I'm not asking them to reveal everything to the public, but certainly I think it's a plausible question and it deserves a responsible answer. And if it's good enough for Uncle Sam, it's good enough for us. And by that I mean, if they turn up to US congressional hearings, some of the big names, Apple, Microsoft, and Adobe has, there are basically shocking price differences for Adobe products here in this country. If it's good enough to appear before US congressional hearings, it's good enough to appear before the Australian Parliament.
But you can be summoned towards a US congressional hearing. Do you have that power?
That ability exists, and I hope we don't have to go down that path.
Well, you've certainly been naming them, shaming them, you've been pressuring them. You tried nice, then you named and shamed, you've been pressuring them. They don't seem to be coming to the party, do they? What next?
Well, I'm an optimistic person by nature, so I would imagine that it's in their interest to open up a dialogue. A lot of people in the public are very interested in this. The figures I mentioned before say that there's a clear economic imperative for the country to get to the bottom of why these differences occur, given how widespread IT is. And the bottom line is, if business is paying for it, someone else is going to pay for it down the track.
Let me just check, though. Could you see, if they continue to be difficult on this and not come to the inquiry, or not front up themselves, answer the questions themselves, could you see you invoking those rules, that ability to call them?
Me personally,
to compulsory
yes.
Call them?
Personally, yes. I mean, that is something that I'm pushing. Like, if obviously our preference is they cooperate, but if they don't, I think they should be compelled to appear. This, as I said, is a big issue within business. It's just that we've copped it for ages.
How long have they got? How long does the inquiry run for?
So we've had our first hearing last week. We'll be looking to set up the next inquiry in the matter of the next few weeks, and I imagine it'll be in Canberra. But this will be a rolling inquiry, and there's been some good signs. I mean, for example, Apple, even though they didn't appear, they are starting to harmonise some of their hardware prices, which is good. You talked about the dollar earlier and the strength of the dollar. The two sides to the coin you would imagine would be that we're obviously getting pressure for manufacturing from the state of the dollar.
But you would think we'd be getting the prices dropped.
And we're not.
What's happened in televisions and other hardware imported. I mean, Maggie Osmond of the retailer said, oh, well, the good news for the consumer. Well, it seems to be good news except here, doesn't it?
And you mentioned about big businesses before. The thing about big business, because of the size of their procurement approach, they can squeeze out. Because basically the big vendors know they've got to try and lock those contracts. So there's a lot more room to move. And government, for example, we've been able to save 80% on IT costs through our procurement process, which is over, I think, $3 billion. So it's not a small amount of money.
No, well, I'm with you. I find it extraordinary. We've got the pain of a high Australian dollar, and apart from a few goods, white goods and electronic goods, where is it? I mean, that in itself would be enough of a scandal. Why haven't the prices dropped, much less already having the gap? Just a couple of other issues that are around at the moment. Foreign ownership we're seeing as a big issue, given that you're now involved in this whole area. We know where the coalition stands. I heard an argument this week that somebody said it's ironic you've got a Labor government arguing so strongly for free trade against what some workers think is in the best interest, and you've got a coalition government arguing, just be a bit careful on state-owned enterprises. Now, where do you stand on this?
Well, okay, let's go through the top 10 countries that invest in Australia. US, UK, Japan, Netherlands, Germany, Singapore, France, Canada, then China and Hong Kong, right? So that's the top 10.
Ed, I've heard this argument over and over again, but do you know how quickly they're moving? They can move within 2 years to go from number 20 to number 1.
But then let's look at this issue about state-owned corporations, and apparently state-owned corporations are the bogey. So if we now say state-owned corporations have a higher threshold test, if I'm sitting as a member of the Queensland Investment Corporation, a state-owned Queensland government-owned body that has a very big portfolio of real estate and infrastructure in different parts of the world, including in our region, what do you think other countries are going to do when we start making it harder for corporations to invest? So, my view is, we've got to have obviously the probity's got to be there, you've got to have the checks and balances, but this is just a rehash of the debate we had in the 80s where we were worried about the Japanese buying up the Gold Coast.
Oh, it is. There's always some new threat. I'm glad to hear you. I've always been a free trader, but I do have a different view on Chinese state ownership.
Well, as a market as big as ours, we can't afford to be playing funny buggers on foreign investment. We need to have a much more open approach. I'm
going to ask you another controversial one. I had a rant tonight. I'm sick of hearing the whining about Olympic funding. I don't know how much. Again, state-owned communist countries can spend as much as they want on a gold medal. I don't think we can.
Can we give you a gold medal for ours?
I reckon I'd be a contender, and I wouldn't cry if I only got a silver. Now, not that there is any other contenders, but just on sports funding, the Crawford report pushed for more grassroots support. You're in an area that does it tough. A lot of battlers out there. Would you argue, if there's going to be a debate on money going to elite sport, would you like to see more money going to school kids, playgrounds, things like that?
Absolutely, and in some sports, a sport I really love, basketball, we could definitely do with more money in terms of the infrastructure that you do need, stadiums that manage 4 to 8 courts to be able to manage local competitions that get the kids involved and allow them to potentially be selected for state and national teams ultimately, though the AIS is clearly the sort of lightning rod for talent in this country. And absolutely, I would always, as an MP, want to be able to see that happen on the ground. You look at our spend in terms of this, we spent over $380 million leading into the London Olympics compared to $266, I think it was, for the Beijing Olympics. So the money is there.
But just throwing money at it doesn't solve the problem,
when you look at our performance, we are, I think, 1 or 2 medals shy off what we got in Beijing. It's just that they're not the right colour.
Isn't the whole Olympic spirit meant to be the joy and the honour of competing for your country?
Absolutely. So there's the difference of balancing out the elite versus the participation, and certainly looking at, and I think it's good, it's healthy to have an examination.
I think we should have a debate.
Boost participation of sports in schools.
Gold medals don't create jobs, though, do they?
You're right there.
No, I'm sorry. Imagine if you had the Brain Olympics and we gave money, and I'm doing the Skills Olympics tomorrow night.
On air? There is a lot to be said about growing our sport, like the sports sector and what that does in terms of the science. We've had a lot of people from other countries see what we do and try and imitate what we do. We've got a global market for coaches. They pick up our people. They train other teams. You look at Tom Maher, actually, is the coach of the Great Britain women's basketball side.
We've got a good market in it. I'll take that point, but I can't let you go without saying next week Parliament resumes. All eyes on Canberra. Is it a happy little team heading back, or do you expect fireworks within your party?
Parliament's always.
Is there the people unsettling? What are the tea leaves? What's the smoke signals reading like?
I think people want to sort of agitate those smoke signals, but we just got to get on with the job. The big thing that we've got to get sorted out is in terms of asylum seeker policy in this country, and without going into a political. And that's probably going to be the sort of priority in the next few weeks of trying to get that through.
Okay, but you don't expect any, as I put it, late night coups or any destabilisation. It's going to be smooth sailing this parliamentary sitting, you reckon?
Every time you open a paper or you turn on a computer, there's some sort of.
Well, it's usually your lot. Will I ask you? You're betting on it, Kevin Rudd to come back. Do you want to take that bet?
I'm not going to take any bets, thanks. I'll follow the market.
You say you're blaming the media. It's not your lot running around. There's people in the stirring it up, you don't think?
You deny me the joy of blaming the media? Like, that's my job. So.
No, that's right. Well, we'll see. Next time you're on, we'll see how we go. Well, I do. I've witnessed some of them. I think we've all got our hands dirty on this one. But good luck for the next couple of weeks, especially with your inquiry. Thank you very much. Ed Husic, Federal MP for Chipley. All we have time for tonight.